Wow. In a viral preview clip of an upcoming interview, Donald Trump is asked whether it's okay for the American people to suffer a Trump-triggered recession in the short term. Trump literally shrugs his shoulders and says, yeah, sure, it's okay, even though such a thing would devastate the finances of the American people and American families. And it's so bad that Trump surrogates on Fox News and elsewhere are desperately trying to downplay it and clean it up. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we got a couple of clips to play in this video, but I want to start with this one. This is a preview clip of an upcoming interview between Trump and Kristen Welker of NBC's Meet the Press. This has gone viral. It is lighting the internet on fire, and I can't say that it's exactly surprising, and I'm sure you'll see why once we get through this clip.
And I want to know what you think about that. Are you comfortable with the country potentially dipping into a recession for a period of time if you are able to achieve your long-term goals?
Well, you know, you say some people on Wall Street say, well, I like to tell you something else. Some people on Wall Street say that we're going to have the greatest economy in history. Why don't you talk about them? Because some people on Wall Street say this is the greatest thing that ever happened.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. That's what I'm getting at, though. It's the same question.
Yeah, there are many people on Wall Street say this is going to be the greatest windfall ever happened.
And that's my question.
Remember
the
this.
long term.
Yeah.
Is it okay in the short term to have a recession?
This. Look, yeah, everything's okay. What we are, I said, this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically.
So there you have it. Donald Trump says, yeah, sure, it's okay if the American people suffer the consequences of a Trump-triggered recession. The signs of which are increasing, that one is approaching. It's not guaranteed, it's not set in stone, but the evidence is there. It's stunning stuff. What an indictment of a tone-deaf president, right? So Trump's polling on the economy, as we've been discussing in video after video after video, is objectively terrible. And one of the major polling questions that Trump suffers the most on with respect to the economy is, are questions like, does Donald Trump understand people like me? Is Donald Trump empathetic to the concerns of the average American? Does Donald Trump understand the average American person? And he's plummeting in this respect because he's a privileged billionaire who's the most powerful man on earth who gets to inflict unilateral damage onto the rest of us, and he won't suffer any consequences of it except potentially politically. That's it. And again, this comment has gone viral. This clip has gone viral because it's not the only example of Donald Trump being totally callous and indifferent to the suffering of the American people. But it's so bad that Fox News hosts are scrambling to try to clean it up and to deflect, as well as other Trump surrogates and other pieces of the media. So I want to play this Fox News clip first.
It's sort of like, I get two things out of that. One, you get this sense that the Democrats, which is the media, the liberal media, that they don't want to see him succeed. Like, first, you get that part. And two, that they're going to take what we know is going to be, as he calls it, a transition period. Anytime, I mean, all of us, we've had budgets in our own families, and we have to make cutbacks. It's a little painful, but you do those because at the end of it, it's going to be better for you, right? This idea of deferred gratification, which is not a real something that Democrats love to talk about. A lot of people don't like to talk about, but
especially government.
Especially government. But these are things we've never seen done before. This complete,
So here's the problem. A couple of things. Number one, first things first, if a Democratic president answered a question the way Donald Trump did, answered a similar question, these same MAGA Fox News losers would be running wild with it. Oh my God, how tone deaf, how callous and indifferent, how elitist, how totally out of touch is President Obama, President Biden, President Democrat, President Kamala Harris. They grade Trump on a curve. It's gross. That answer, if ever uttered from the lips of a Democratic politician, would cause right-wing media to go apoplectic. Even if they weren't personally outraged, they would milk it for cynical purposes. But because it's Trump, and Trump fucked up so spectacularly here, Rachel Campos Duffy of Fox News is like, Kristen Welker, I mean, she's an NBC host, so she's basically the Democrats. I mean, they want Trump to fail by asking perfectly reasonable questions. You really just want Trump to fail. Okay, again, that's not true because the consequence of Trump's decisions, if the stock market crashes, if the economy contracts, if consumer prices increase as a consequence of tariffs, we're all going to be feeling that. It's not liberal 401ks, conservative 401ks. It's not liberal prices and conservative prices. It's everybody's prices. So Trump screwing up here as spectacularly as he has, the consequences of that are going to be egalitarian. It's going to be subsidized by the American people, at least those who are less privileged. So no, we don't want Trump to screw this up, but you're damn right we're going to call him out for it when he does screw up, especially when it's an unforced error, as it has been, one right after another. But by the way, this idea, well, deferred gratification of paying bills, of having retirement, of having college funds saved for your children. What the hell? Does time pause? Rachel, does time pause with these tariffs? Do retirements pause? Like, oh, everything stands still. Don't worry about it. Or do the obligations continue? Do we still have to buy groceries and buy gifts and pay bills and retire and pay for college? Are those things still going on while the delayed gratification of Trump's victories, such as you say they are, while those are paused, while we have to wait for those? Do all the obligations that are affected by Trump's decision, are those paused too? No. It's a really dumb, thoughtless, indifferent thing for Rachel Campos Duffy to say in desperate defense of a man who said something incredibly insensitive, out of touch, and callous too. And again, the shoe on the other foot. Imagine a Democrat says something like that. And also imagine a Democrat says, hey, listen, I know you're feeling pain right now, but it'll work out in time. Would Rachel Campos Duffy, Fox News, MAGA Republicans, would they accept such a line from President Biden, President Harris, President Clinton, President Bill Clinton, President Obama, all the actual and hypothetical Democratic presidents? No. The double standard is gross. And the reason they have to employ double standards is because if they hold Trump to the same standards they hold Democrats to, Trump is objectively worse, and he will come off worse as a result. So you see these desperate, pathetic attempts to defend Trump here. But it's not just on Fox. It's also MAGA surrogates on CNN, like this.
I mean, I think he was trying to just basically be contrarian with her.
By saying that there's going to be a recession?
He didn't say there's going to be a recession.
Okay.
No, he didn't say there'd be a recession.
I mean, I don't know, what did he think Kristen Welker wanted?
He did what Donald Trump does, which is he said, yeah, okay, but what he did, he was not affirming her point. He was using it as a bridge word to the next point. He said everything's fine.
Yeah.
He said everything's fine and we'll all be okay. I would not have taken Donald Trump's statement the way the media did, which was to say he said a recession would be okay. He did not, in any definitive terms, say a recession would be okay for the economy. So the media getting all spun up over the word okay in the middle of a sentence to a bridge where he said everything is fine. That was not what he was saying. And so I think that we need a little bit of clarity here to give the president the opportunity to say that was not what he said. He did not say a recession would be okay. So let's be honest.
The context is also that
It's so funny. It's so sure Trump said this, but that's not okay. Trump didn't say it. Okay, he said it, but that's not what he meant. Okay, he said it, that's what he meant, but you guys are just too sensitive. This is the constant goalpost shift when it comes to Donald Trump's public utterances, because they can't hold him to the same standard they hold a Democratic politician to. Do you think this lady and the guy who spoke before her would be saying something similar about President Biden, who was also a gaffe machine, but substantially less malicious than Donald Trump? No. So you're not obligated to either. One standard for the president of the United States, no matter if it's a Democrat, Republican, Trump, Biden, Harris, Clinton, Bush, it shouldn't matter. If you're an honest person, you hold them to the same standard. And the evidence is increasing that Trump just doesn't give a damn about the consequences of his actions. So CNN's got speaking of CNN, since we just played a clip by them, let's take a look at this write-up. Trump shrugs off recession fears, saying a downturn would be okay in the long term. Trump appeared to dismiss growing concerns that his economic policies could cause a recession, telling NBC News that the economy would be okay in the long term even if a recession happens in the near future. Pressed on whether he would be okay with a recession in the short term to achieve his long-term goals, Trump said, quote, look, yes, everything's okay. I said this is a transition period. I think we're going to do fantastically. Trump's economic policies, and particularly the trade war he ignited with his whipsaw abrupt tariffs, have already sent the world's largest economy into reverse. Gross domestic product, which measures all goods and services produced in the economy, registered at an annualized rate of minus 0.3% in the first quarter. As businesses hoarded goods and consumer spending decelerated, the Commerce Department said Wednesday. That was far worse than economists had predicted, and it marked the worst quarter since 2022. And before we continue, I will remind you that measured January 1st until March 31st. When were the Liberation Day tariffs explicitly announced? April 2nd. Now, Trump had been signaling, right? He'd been talking about, April 2nd, this Liberation Day is when we're going to announce these big tariffs. So people knew about those tariffs or knew that some big tariffs were supposed to be coming. But the announcement hadn't been made until quarter two. So if Q1 is as bad as this in terms of GDP contracting, what might Q2 look like? Could look substantially worse than Q1. And a recession is defined as 2 quarters of contraction, of government, of economy shrinking. So we already have 1 quarter where it shrank. What will Q2 look like? And I'll remind you too, because we did a video about this. Trump tried to preempt this by saying, it's really Biden's economy. It's Biden's quarter. And you know what? Q2 might be Biden's quarter too. Now, Trump actually got a fairly good jobs report under the circumstances from April. But those weren't Biden's jobs. You see how it works, right? So like any bad news that happens, it's because of Biden. Any good news, like a better than average or better than expected jobs report, that's all Trump, right? These people are pathetic. Trump has warned previously that Americans would see some economic disturbance throughout a transition period as his policies reset the global economic order for friend and foe alike. He's imposed sweeping global tariffs and paused some of them, and he's levied especially high import taxes against China, a major U.S. trading partner. Earlier this week, for example, he acknowledged that tariffs could lead to shortages and higher prices for everyday Americans. Quote, somebody said, quote, the shelves are going to be open. Trump said, quote, well, maybe the children will have $2 instead of $30, and maybe the $2 will cost a couple of bucks more than they would normally. So again, increasing signs that Trump just does not give a damn about what his unilateral decisions may result for the American people. Trump and some administration officials have also previously signaled that tariffs may plunge the economy into recession, and that may be an acceptable outcome. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent suggested America needed a detox period. If Trump's tariffs succeeded at restoring America's manufacturing prowess, Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick said a recession would be, quote, worth it. And Trump has sometimes declined to rule out a recession as a result of his actions. The U.S. economy is powered by consumption, about 2/3, and throwing sand into that growth engine could cause major disruptions. The economy is weakening, certainly, but it's also too early to tell if the U.S. is in recession. The official definition of a recession in the United States is, quote, a significant decline in economic activity that is spread across the economy and lasts more than a few months. And again, usually the standard is 2 quarters, okay? So we're already at 1 quarter. We'll see what happens in Q2. So this is where we are. Again, Trump, totally indifferent, seems to say that, hey, listen, a recession, everybody's going to be fine, even though that's obviously not the case. He'll be fine because he's a billionaire, the president of the United States, the most powerful man on earth, and the people he likes will also be, somewhat insulated from the results of a recession. But that statement was so profoundly stupid, thoughtless, and dangerous politically that Fox News hosts and MAGA surrogates on other networks are desperately trying to deflect or clean it up because they know that this is going to probably impact Trump's polling even worse the more viral it becomes. And that's why I think you should share that clip and this video as much as possible. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.